thought about how awesome it would be if you had a cheat sheet to your next NP interview? If you knew in advance every question they were going to ask you, oh my gosh, how you could perform for them, because you just practice a few times and you could tell them everything they want to hear about you and the job would be yours. And life isn't quite that simple. Now, I can't tell you everything they're going to ask you, but what I can do is help you to get to the root of what their motives are, what it is that they're looking for, so you can prepare stories in advance. I can help you distinguish between the types of questions they may ask you, whether it's behavioral, non-behavioral, or clinical, and what they're looking for in that. And the most important thing is deciphering, and you will probably inherently discover this very quickly when you sit down, whether or not this is a really crappy interviewer or whether or not they're really good. A good interviewer is going to make you feel somewhat pressured. A bad interviewer, while at first may seem like a really unfortunate turn of events because it's going to ramble and or some other bad things may happen, in reality, this is a great situation because it's an opportunity for you to shine bright like the diamond that you are. So if you are new to this channel, my name is Bree. I'm an RN NP mentor, interview strategist, content creator, and educator. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to get inside that weirdo brain of the NP interviewer and how you can deliver all the things they want to hear from you. Welcome to the channel. What you're about to see is a 10-minute video that was taken from my digital course, Turn Your NP Interview into a Job Offer Easily. And to me, it's the most important part of the whole course that I teach. It's a 3-hour course. This is a 10-minute video that is extrapolated from that. I'm not about recreating the wheel, so I'm just going to give you this video for free. But I want to do that because I think it's the most important part of learning how to interview is getting inside the mind of what it is that they want from you. Because if you know what people want from you, you just give it to them, and then you are the savior. You're the answer to all that ails them, and they will choose you in a heartbeat. It's so, so, so critically important. So kudos to you for tuning in and watching this video, and let's cue it up.
What is going on inside that head of theirs? If only you had access to what they were thinking, you could tell them whatever they wanted to hear, right? Well, you have some clues. There are some things that you can use to help you determine what it is that they actually want. Clues you can garner to what their motives are. Start with that job investigation. Martin Yates calls it the targeted job deconstruction. Basically, when you go on the job leaderboards and you look through all the job postings and the description of what it is for your specific industry. What are common things that you see asked for over and over again? Now, the way this is different for NPs is that there is a broad range of types of NPs. So the specifics about what, the skills, the soft skills, the transferable skills, and the technical skills that they require are going to be different based on the specialty. So I urge you to dig even further, and that may be difficult to find. So this goes back to that video on research where you do your research on the type of provider that you want to be. You go to the forums, you go on the social media platforms, and you do some digging into what makes a strong nurse practitioner in X arena. This is going to give you some indication of the type of person that these groups are generally looking for. Now, each group is going to have even more defined specific needs, and some of it you may not be privy to. Like, say, the last person who left was preferred nights. You're not really going to know that unless it's posted in the job description, but you may garner that information during the course of your interview. If you have any insight into what the person who filled this job previously was like, whether they were good or bad, and what the issues were, why they left. This can help give you some insight into maybe what they're looking for or what they're looking to avoid. Their primary goal in general is always going to be who is the best fit, who has the most qualified technical skills, and who has the best transferable soft skills. And again, I'm harping on the same things over and over in this course, but as an NP, probably if you're called in, you already have the qualifications. You probably already have similar technical skills to the other people that are interviewing. So you really need to focus on your transferable skills. They're going to learn what your transferable skills are through those behavioral questions, which I will talk about later in the course. But basically, these are questions where you use stories from previous work experience or school in order to illustrate how you would behave in a future situation that modeled that. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So you create these stories to show what you're like, what your transferable skills are, what the skills are that you have that worked in one role that will serve you well in this role, even if it's a different type of role. Does that make sense? We'll get to it more later. They're also going to ask you non-behavioral questions to learn about your personality. Things like, what is your definition of collaboration? So it's going to be kind of broad, general questions that ask you to kind of more hypothesize or theorize on what your values are. They may ask you clinical questions. I have never seen this in an interview, nor have I been asked these kind of questions in an interview, but I know people who do. So I do think it warrants a minute of discussion. So I have included a bonus video talking about how to answer clinical questions. But the majority of your focus should be on how to answer the behavioral questions. This is mostly what they're going to ask you. Now, not all interviewers are created equal, and there are several factors at play that affect this. Number one is going to be their experience level. Have they ever done this before? Their comfort level, their participation status. And factors that affect this are going to be, is this a panel interview? Is there a group of people here who are involved? Is there a clear agenda, or is it not well defined? Is there a set lead, or is it just like everybody free for all? Are there distractions present? So let me give you some examples of things that are happening behind the scenes that you may not be aware of. You're going to have a wide variety in people who are interviewing you. You may have a scenario where you're going to work in a very small group or clinic where it is just you and one other person. It may be just you and a collaborating physician, and this physician knows exactly what they want, exactly what they need to ask you, and they may get right to it. And they may grill you, and it may be a little bit more stressful than someone else. Another scenario, maybe the total opposite. Maybe this is a very large group. Maybe this is a hospital system. Maybe this group wasn't even aware that they were hiring, much less what was listed in the job description. They may have just been handed your resume a day before or even an hour before. They may be in the middle of seeing patients and so very distracted by what's going on at work. And so their engagement level may not be as high as it should be. Then you have some comfort level issues. For example, I'm a nurse practitioner. I sit in on a ton of interviews for both APPs and physicians. It gets a little bit awkward when a nurse practitioner is asking questions of a physician, particularly if it's kind of a grilling environment. It's sort of a power play situation that I'm not fully comfortable with. I don't think that physician would feel very good being asked a lot of difficult or taxing questions from an NP. Also, physicians work differently than NPs do, right? They have different expectations in their schooling and their training. So it may feel a little weird, particularly when those technical questions are asked that I don't have as much knowledge over. So you may have differing levels of people who are engaged, but say I'm in an interview with a panel of other people, but there's no set lead, and the physician who's involved there is not someone who's comfortable, who doesn't have a lot of experience, or is not very good at interviewing. I may have to fill in that gap and provide more of a lead role there. So there are a lot of factors that may make the interview feel very awkward, and it's not because of your performance. It's just that there's a lot of backroom awkward factors that you're not privy to. Now, signs that you have a bad interviewer. Okay, this is what they may do. You may get very long, awkward silences, or you may get the opposite. They may start out trying to ask you a question, but not be very clear in it, and then follow it up with a very long lecture about how great it is to work here, or something else that's not relevant to the job interview. Both bad. They may be very unprepared and not have any questions to ask you and be trying to come up with them on the fly. Or they may ask you binary or closed-ended questions like, do you like critical care? Well, you can answer that yes, but that's not really what they were after. They just didn't know how to ask you a more open-ended question to get to what the root of it is that they want to know from you. So in these scenarios, you have to help them. You have to take the lead and give them what they want without making them feel that you're taking over or take control. It should be a very smooth and covert operation, which is actually very difficult to perform in real life. Let me give you some examples of how you might do that. So the person who's got awkward silences and doesn't know what to ask, or they ask you a closed-ended question, follow it up with more. Give them some options. Ask them questions about what you could offer them. For example, could I tell you about the time that I first realized I wanted to become a nurse practitioner? Or if they go on this long diatribe, say let's give you an example. Say they're talking about the office staff. Say you're applying for an office job and this person doesn't know what to ask you, so they start by telling you how their office works and they segue into this whole, well, the office manager does this and the billing person adds to this and then this person collects the payment and this person does the scheduling, and they just go off on all the stuff that's not relevant. You might gently intercept when there's a natural pause and say, wow, it sounds like you have a very well-oiled machine. In my last job, we had issues with my billing department. Quite often the codes that I was using didn't match with what they knew to use, and therefore there was lost revenue. Once we identified this issue, I went to the billing department and we hashed out together what proper documentation I needed to include in order for them to identify the keywords to properly code so that we could bill and collect all that lost revenue. This is sort of a way of bragging, but also following that line of thought that they had on how the office works. You want to show how you can work in that environment, but you've also worked in an environment with a broken system and you developed a better process. Conversely, a good interviewer may feel a lot like a stressful test. This person may come in with a stack of papers and prepared questions. They know exactly what they're looking for and exactly what to ask you, and you may feel the pressure because you may not have been properly prepared for exactly what they're looking for. They know how to lead, and they may rapid fire questions at you if they aren't getting the answers that they want. And it can feel like you're failing a test. If they start with, do you love critical care? And you say yes, and they follow it up and they follow it up and they follow it up. It's because they're trying to get to a specific place. And it likely ties back into they're looking to see if you're the best fit. That person that left may have been the kind of person who discovered they really didn't like critical care. And so they're now trying to get to the root of what your passions are and are they going to last for a long period of time. So I say all this just so that you don't have high anxiety. If you get these rapid fire kind of questions, it's just because they're trying to lead you where they want to get you so that the information can be exchanged to determine if y'all are a good fit. This also might be the person who tests you. This might be the person who asks you clinical questions because they know what it takes to succeed in this role and they know what they're looking for. They might be the kind of person who asks you hypothetical questions that are clinically relevant as well. I've been in both types of interviews and they were both stressful for very different reasons. But use your strategies with the bad interviewer and with the good interviewer. There's not a lot you can do other than just relax. Just relax and know that you've prepared. And it's not because they're trying to trip you up. It's just because they want to determine if you have the strengths that they need.
So that was kind of a brief video, but do not sleep on the part where I talk to you about how to handle the bad interviewer, because my friends, you can shine in these moments if you just know how to handle them. So I hope that this is helpful to you on your journey wherever you're at. And if you need any more help interviewing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website, brianp.com. I have the digital course that have mock interviews that I offer, and my whole goal in life is to help you all land where you want to be, and I get such joy by living vicariously through you guys and watching you all land these jobs that you did not think you would be able to. Thanks so much for your viewership and your support of this channel. Have a good week, friends.